Good morning, classmates. My apologies for not showing up today due to some equally important commitments related to my job. Allow me to discuss my report about Week 4 Cost Behavior. First slide is about the introduction to cost behaviors and their influence. We must understand first what is cost behavior and how it can influence the managers in terms of planning or predicting cost, and of course to make decisions. Consequently, managers should identify non-value adding activities that can be removed without deteriorating the quality of products and services offered by the company. Oh, hold on, folks. I think I forgot something. Yes, and let me add the third and final reason why managers must understand cost behavior. And that is very important and critical. And what is that? The third one? That is to control cost. We need to control costs because we must recall that the main goal of a business is to gain profit. And of course, we cannot achieve this without reducing operating cost and improving the business operations. Second slide talks about ethical considerations on the use of cost behavior and cost estimation and predicting cost. Since cost reduction is one key to increasing competitiveness and profitability, cost accountants must be careful in estimating cost because it is not always desirable. Okay? Because they might sacrifice product quality, and also if not used properly, prompt delivery could also be adversely affected, and choice of technological devices and capabilities could also be compromised. Next slide is still about ethical considerations. Cost estimation using high-low method must be done more precisely. Cost accountant must exclude abnormal or unusual events to get a more reliable results and not haphazardly calculate high-low points with abnormalities just to comply with management requests and not just to please the management. On the next slide, let's define cost behavior. It is the behavior of cost according to the changes in the level of business activity, such as, but not limited to, A. The number of units produced or manufactured. B. The number of labor hours. Letter C. Number of machine hours. And letter D. Number of customers served. These are actually what we call as the cost drivers. So what is cost driver? Cost driver is a factor that creates or drives the cost of the activity. It is any activity that triggers a cost of something else. Activity is a general term denoting anything that the company does. Common examples are the number of units produced, which will cause the manufacturing cost to increase if the production volume is also increased. Same goes with hours work, which will increase labor costs as the number of hours rendered increase, or when overtime hours are required to finish a job. In cost accounting, invoices prepared can act as a cost driver when considering the administrative overhead cost associated with processing customer orders, meaning the more invoices generated, the higher the total cost of order processing, including activities like data entry, credit investigation or the CI, and invoice mailing. Similarly, parts inspected is also a cost driver. When the number of individual components checked during quality control directly influences the overall cost of inspection, meaning the more parts inspected, the higher the associated quality control cost. Next slide is the classification of costs according to its behavior. First are the fixed cost, second variable cost, third semi-variable cost, and fourth semi-fixed cost or also known as step cost. Let's deal first with fixed cost. Fixed cost remains constant regardless of the change in activity level. Common examples are rental cost. The amount of monthly rent does not change or does not increase even if production volume increase, as it is already fixed in the signed lease contract. Same goes with depreciation, which remains the same over the useful life of the asset when we are using the straight line method of depreciation, which is computed as the acquisition cost minus the salvage value divided by the estimated useful life, which means that monthly and annual depreciation expense will be uniform all throughout the useful life of the asset. Of course, not unless there is a significant damage or deterioration in the value of asset. Next example is insurance. Insurance cost is classified as fixed cost because, similar to depreciation, prepaid insurance is allocated over the covered period, normally in 1 year, which means that insurance cost will be spread over the 12 months period. Another example of fixed cost is the salaries expense, but this one, it is relating to the basic pay only, because the basic pay rate of any employee will not change unless the employee is promoted with a corresponding increase in his basic pay. Now, let's consider the illustration given from the book of Mr. Rodelio Roque, the author of Management Advisory Services book. The example shows how rental costs behave in relation to the changes in the volume of production. The total rental cost as provided in his example is 25,000 pesos and is permanent regardless of the increase or decrease in the level of production. If we compute the fixed cost per unit by deducting the no, not deducting, it's dividing. By dividing the 25,000 rental cost by the number of units produced, which is 26,000 units, the rental cost per unit is 96 centavos or 96 per unit. But when production volume is reduced from 26,000 units to just 10,000 units, fixed cost per unit will increase from 96 centavos to 2 pesos and 50 centavos per unit. And that shows an inverse relationship, which means that as the activity level increases, fixed cost per unit decreases. And as the activity level decreases, fixed cost per unit increases. But take note, the total fixed cost or the total rental cost remains the same in any level of activity. You can take a look at the summary of the changes in the activity level and the changes in the fixed cost per unit and what is constant here. As you can see in this table, the total fixed cost is constant in any level of activity. Okay, now that we're done with fixed cost, let's tackle the counterpart of fixed cost, and that is variable cost. Variable costs are costs that change directly and proportionately with the level of activity or the cost driver. Common examples are direct materials. The cost of direct materials is an example of variable cost because the cost varies with the level of production, which means that as the volume of production increases, total variable cost also increases. But the variable cost per unit remains constant. In the case of direct labor, some employees and some workers are paid in a fixed hourly rate or fixed daily rate, which will increase if management requires them to render overtime to meet production quotas, or in some instances, if overtime is still not enough, additional workers may be hired, which will increase total labor costs proportionately based on the labor hours rendered, while the hourly rate or daily rate remains the same. In the case of factory supplies, if production volume is increased, more hand gloves will be required for the workers. More apron will be required for the factory workers. More sanitation kits and supplies will be required, which will drive the factory supplies cost to increase, but the variable cost per unit will remain the same. In the case of sales commissions, from the perspective of the company who are paying the commission expenses, sales commission will increase as the number of signed and approved sales increases, but the amount of incentives or commissions per unit remains the same, which only proves that sales commission are variable cost. Okay, let's consider another illustration. Say for example, if the cost of material per unit of a certain product is 5 pesos and each product requires 1 unit of material, production of 1,000 units of product will require 1,000 units of material at a total cost of 5,000 pesos. If production is increased to 1,500 units, The same quantity of materials will be used at a total cost of 7,500 pesos. However, if production is reduced to 800 units, materials will cost 4,000 pesos. So how did you get this materials cost? You just multiply the quantity by the unit cost of material, which is 5 pesos. So to summarize, total variable cost will increase as the activity level increases or production volume increases, but the variable cost per unit remains the same. Total variable cost decreases as the activity level decreases or production volume decreases, but the variable cost per unit remains the same. In short, variable cost per unit is constant, but total variable cost changes depending on the levels of activity. Okay, allow me to repeat. So, how to compute the total variable cost? Just multiply the 1,000 units of production or volume by the variable cost per unit of 5 pesos, so you can get 5,000 total variable cost. And on the next, when you increase the production from 1,000 to 1,500 units, multiplying it with the same variable cost per unit that is constant, 5 pesos multiplied by 1,500 units is equivalent to 7,500 pesos. So now to summarize, the change in activity level, if the production increase, the variable cost per unit remains the same, the total variable cost will also increase. But if the production level is decreased, total variable cost will also decrease. But take note, the variable cost per unit is constant, meaning it will not change regardless if the production volume is increased or decreased. That is a characteristic of variable cost. You might wonder why it is called variable cost. It is called variable cost because it varies. It varies with the change in activity level. That's why it's called variable cost. Now we realize that not all costs can be easily classified as either fixed or variable because some costs cannot be described by a single cost behavior pattern. Cost that possesses both fixed and variable components are called mixed cost. Now, mixed costs can be further classified into two. One is semi-variable cost and the second one is semi-fixed cost. Let's go first with semi-variable cost. These are not purely variable cost, which means that the rate of change in these cost items with a change in activity level is not constant. Instead of increasing at a constant rate, semi-variable costs tend to either increase at an increasing rate or increase at a decreasing rate. Now, most of you might say, oh, this is confusing already. But don't worry, let's try to understand the concept by providing specific examples. An example of semi-variable cost that increase at an increasing rate is the cost of electricity. And why? It's because our electric bills are computed based on a graduated bracket, which means that as we consume higher kilowatt hours, we graduate from a lower bracket to a higher one. And the result is obviously we pay higher power charge per kilowatt hour. I'll give you another example, okay? So, in our income taxation, specifically for the computation of tax due for individual income taxes, remember that our taxation system is progressive and the tax will tend to increase as the individual earn more or as the individual receive a higher compensation income. So that is an example of semi-variable cost that increase at an increasing rate. But there are always two sides of a coin. So let's discuss semi-variable costs that increase at a decreasing rate. A very good example is the learning curve cost, and this is done by improving labor efficiency as employees become more familiar with a new job. Consider in a factory setting, the first batch of tables production will take 8 hours, but on the second production run, it will just take 6 hours as workers become more familiar with the machine and the techniques. So, on the third production run, mastery of the process will come into play. So, from the original 8 hours to just 6 hours in the second production run, the third production run will just take 5 hours to finish the job. So in this scenario, labor costs to produce chairs will tend to increase at a decreasing rate as more chairs and tables are produced. To further understand mixed cost, let's illustrate using graph and compare it with pure variable cost. As shown in the leftmost side, the purely variable cost is a straight diagonal line which indicates total variable cost increases at a constant rate with the increase in activity level. The second graph is a visual representation of semi-variable cost that increases at an increasing rate, in which the line graph curves in an upward direction, as you can see here. You see the line graph going upward, okay? While the third graph shows semi-variable cost that increases but at a decreasing rate, which showed an initial upward trend and eventually sloping down or moving towards a downward direction. As you can see in this illustration, you see the line graph there going downward. That is a semi-variable cost that the cost increases at a decreasing rate. So now we're done with semi-variable costs. Let's move to semi-fixed costs, also known as step cost. Semi-fixed costs have characteristics of variable and fixed cost. Semi-fixed costs behave the same way as the variable cost in the way that it increases as the activity level increases, but not proportionately, while fixed costs remain constant for stretches of activity levels, although not for all levels of activity. In order to fully understand semi-fixed costs, let's use the illustration on the next slide. Suppose a machine can produce 5,000 units in its normal capacity. The depreciation cost is constant at 2,000 pesos within the normal range or the normal capacity, which is obviously a characteristic of fixed cost. However, if demand for production is increased from 5,000 to 10,000 units, additional machine is needed to meet production targets. The utilization of additional machine will produce 10,000 units. But this time, it already exceeded the normal range or the relevant range of machine, which is only 5,000 units. Hence, additional 2,000 depreciation cost will be incurred whenever the production level exceeded the normal capacity. So, to summarize, for any production in excess of its normal capacity of 5,000 units, additional machine will be required that will incur additional 2,000 pesos of depreciation cost, which will increase total depreciation cost to 4,000 pesos. As mentioned earlier, semi-fixed cost is also called step cost. As you can see in the graph, the vertical broken lines labeled K, L, and M represent the increase in total cost at each step. From the previous slide illustration, the 2,000 depreciation cost will increase if the normal capacity level of 5,000 units is exceeded. If production is increased from 5,000 to 10,000 units, depreciation costs will increase by another step from 2,000 pesos to 4,000 pesos, represented by the broken line labeled with letter K. If production is further increased from 10,000 to 15,000 units, depreciation costs will increase by another step from 4,000 pesos to 6,000 pesos, represented by the broken line labeled with letter L. This trend will just continue if the production is further increased again from 15,000 units to 20,000 units, represented by the broken line labeled with letter M, which will cause the depreciation cost to increase from 6,000 pesos to 8,000 pesos, which is actually the additional 2,000 fixed depreciation costs for every additional machine. Now, using the same data provided from the previous slide, the production of 5,000 units of tables and chairs of one machine that will cost 2,000 depreciation costs will show a step diagram based on the plotted depreciation costs depending on the changes in the activity level. Okay, so as you can see, the moment that the production level is increased or exceeded the relevant range, fixed costs increase intermittently. And why is that? Depreciation cost jumps intermittently from one level to another. It remains constant until another jump occurs at a higher level of activity. This explains why the graph of semi-fixed cost is not continuous. It is broken whenever the amount of cost shifts from one level to another. Because of this cost behavior pattern, it is difficult to describe semi-fixed costs in simple mathematical equation. This limitation, however, should not prevent managers from considering semi-fixed costs in planning and decision making. Cost can also be classified as discretionary and committed cost so that managers are aware which costs are controllable and which are not. Let's try to differentiate the two. Discretionary costs are costs that can be altered by managerial action, while committed costs are costs that cannot be changed quickly. To further understand the differences of the two, let's enumerate some of its common examples. Discretionary common examples are advertising, employee training, and research and development. So why are these called discretionary costs? It is because the management has the sole discretion whether or not to promote their business, or should they just focus on improving the quality of their products, or should they just invest in new technology. Employee training is also classified as discretionary cost because management can decide whether to invest in employee trainings and seminars or just hire people with more experience and expertise so that training and seminars can be avoided. But of course, this must be done based on careful analysis of the needs and priorities of the company. Another example of discretionary costs are research and development. It is also a matter of strategic planning by management whether or not they plan to engage in product development and innovation or just deal with edging the market competition through advertising and promotional activities. Again, this is a matter of judgment and assessment by the decision makers. Hence, this can be validly classified as discretionary cost. On the other side, the examples of committed cost are depreciation cost, because one capital outlay has been budgeted. Certain funds are set aside already for the purchase or acquisition of fixed asset or long-term assets. Once the management has approved of this, depreciation costs after acquisition can never be stopped. Same goes with rent expense, especially if these are long-term lease agreement wherein the cost and penalty of pre-termination is higher than paying the remaining term of the lease period. Okay, now that we're done with the identification and analysis of cost behavior, let's discuss how to estimate or how to predict cost using the three techniques in segregating fixed and variable components of mixed cost. Okay, let's discuss how to estimate or how to predict cost using the three techniques in segregating fixed and variable components of mixed cost. First is the scatter graph method. Second is the high-low method. And the third one is the method of least squares or the regression method. But before we discuss this thoroughly, let's identify first the three cost behavior assumptions. The three cost behavior assumptions are: first, linearity assumption; second, relevant range assumption; third, time assumption. The three methods used in predicting cost and segregating fixed and variable cost components from the mixed cost is anchored on the linearity assumption, wherein the relationship between the total cost and activity can be approximated by a straight line. The cost formula, or some call it as the cost function, is y is equal to a plus b multiplied by the x, or total cost is equal to the sum of total fixed costs plus variable costs per unit multiplied by the activity. So let's try to break this down on the next slide. Okay, so we're still at the linear approach to analyzing mixed costs. For this particular slide, it is very important that you recall or you remember the cost formula. So what is the cost formula again? The cost formula is y is equal to a plus b multiplied by x. Again, the cost formula is y is equal to a plus b multiplied by x. And just to simplify this, I will translate this to Tagalog or Filipino. Yung letter Y, class, yan yung total cost. Pag sinabing total cost, magkasama na yung variable at fixed cost. Diyan, class, sa cost formula, yung ang A is actually the total fixed cost. Siyempre, kung may total fixed cost na, yung B at saka X, yan naman yung total variable cost. E paano ba natin kinocompute yung total variable cost? E di, kunin mo yung variable cost per unit na constant, i-multiply mo lang siya sa X or dun sa activity level. Ano yung mga example ng activity level? Machine hours, number of goods produced, direct labor hours, yun yung mga activity level niya. So, yung X, yun yung activity level or yung mga volume of production. Yung B naman, yan naman yung constant na variable cost per unit. So, pag pinagsama mo yan, BX is the total variable cost. Pag inad mo dun sa A na fixed cost, ang tawag na dun sa kanila is total cost. Okay? Total cost. So, Y is the total cost, which is shown on the vertical axis or the y-axis. It is called the dependent variable because we assume that y is dependent on x. So what is x again? X is the activity that causes or drives y, the total cost, to change. And this can be located at the x-axis or the horizontal line in the graph. This variable is also called the cost driver or the independent variable. A is the amount of cost that will be incurred regardless of activity level or X, or the total fixed cost. This term is also called the intercept term or the constant. This term is also called the intercept term or the constant. That is represented by letter A in the cost formula. While the letter B in the cost formula indicates how much Y or the total cost will change as X or the activity level changes. In other words, B is the variable cost per unit of X and is represented by the slope of the line. Slope in our high school lesson is the rise over run, or the change in cost divided by the change in activity level. Again, slope is the rise over run. It is the change in cost divided by the change in activity level. The second assumption is the relevant range. It is the band of activity within which the identified cost behavior pattern is valid. Any level of activity outside this range may have different cost behavior patterns. To better understand the relevant range assumption, consider the two graphs on the next slide. Okay, so let's go back to the relevant range assumption. Again, relevant range is the band of activity within which the identified cost behavior pattern is valid. Any level of activity outside this range may have different cost behavior patterns. Now consider graph 1. What can you see in the first graph? The first graph is an illustration of semi-variable cost, wherein the relevant range is from point B to point E, and anything beyond the relevant range, cost will behave in a semi-variable manner. So let's take a look at the second graph. The second graph resembles the step cost or the semi-fixed cost, wherein, as you can see, the flat horizontal line is the fixed cost from point F to point G, and that is pure fixed cost as long as it is within the relevant range. And so what will happen if below or above the relevant range? The cost will behave in a mixed cost manner, particularly the mixed fixed cost or the step cost. So what's the impact of relevant range assumption in decision making? Well, for purposes of planning and decision making, the cost behavior patterns and the production level within the relevant range from point D to point E on the first graph and from point F to point G on the second graph, it is assumed that such level will most likely occur during the period. Extremely high and low activity levels or production levels above and below the relevant range are considered abnormal, hence unimportant. The third assumption is called the time assumptions. Cost behavior patterns identified are true only over a specified period of time. Beyond this, the cost may show a different behavior. So for better understanding, let's take a look at the illustration on the next slide. Some costs classified as fixed may no longer be fixed in the long run. A directly or purely variable cost may show a semi-variable cost behavior pattern beyond a period of time under consideration. Variable costs may even shift to be a fixed cost or vice versa. Let's take a look at the example. First example, a worker paid on a per output basis during his 6-month probationary period may eventually be paid on a semi-monthly fixed salary basis upon successful completion of his probationary period, and this is a shift from variable to fixed cost. Now, let's take a look at the second example. Lease payments on a building that may be fixed during the period covered by the lease contract, but the amount may change upon expiration or renewal of the contract. A change in the amount of total fixed cost. Now that we're done with the cost behavior assumptions, what are those again? What are the cost behavior assumptions? First is the linearity assumption. Second is the relevant range assumption. And lastly, the time assumption. We now proceed with the three cost estimation techniques. The three cost estimation techniques are the following. First is the scatter graph method. Second is the high-low method. And third is the method of least squares or the regression. What is scatter graph? Scatter graph is a visual representation of the relationship between the total cost or the Y and activity level or the X in the cost formula. Scatter graph shows the total cost plotted on the vertical or the Y-axis and a measure of activity or the cost driver plotted on the horizontal axis or the X-axis. There are two ways to do the scatter graph. The first one is by manually plotting the points on graph paper or bond paper. And the second is the scatter graph using the Microsoft Excel functions. So for appreciation, let's apply it on the example on the next slide. Consider the following Starbucks hypothetical data. On the first column is the months from January to June. And what does the second column says? Second column is the number of customers served, represented by letter X. And on the third column, you will find the total overhead costs, represented by letter symbol Y. Okay, so what's the function of this? In order to appreciate this, you must recall what is the cost formula. Can you still remember the cost formula? So let's have a recap. The cost formula is Y is equal to A plus B multiplied by X, wherein Y is the total cost, while A is the total fixed cost, and B is the variable cost per unit, which is constant, and X is the activity level. Now, let's identify and enumerate the questions that we need to answer after using this scatter graph method. So first question, what does the relationship between the total overhead cost, or Y, and the number of customers served, X, look like? Can we use a straight line to approximate the relationship? Second question, how much does total overhead cost, or Y, change in response to changes in the number of customers served, or X? In other words, what is the variable cost per unit, or what is the slope of the line? The third question is how much of the total overhead cost, or Y, is independent of the number of customers served, or X. In other words, what is the total fixed cost, or the intercept? Okay, let's do this. Scatter graph using manual plotting. Yung say manual, mano-mano, ibig sabihin, hindi tayo gagamit ng Microsoft Excel. So, pwede mong gawin ng bond paper, or kung mayroon kang notebook, pwede mo rin siyang gawin sa notebook mo. So, syempre, dapat meron kang data. Ito ang data natin. Yung month, January to June, yung number of customers, represented by letter X, and yung total overhead cost, represented by letter Y. If you notice, class, ang ating cost formula ay Y is equal to A plus B multiplied by X. So dito, class, makikita natin na meron na tayong total overhead cost na nasa letter Y. And then, given na rin yung activity level na X. So ano lang yung hindi natin alam? Ang hindi na lang natin alam is yung value ng fixed cost, or yung letter A sa cost formula. Ito yun. Nakikita nyo ba to? Ito. So yung A, yung total fixed cost, hindi pa natin alam. Yung letter B, or yung variable cost per unit, hindi pa rin natin alam. Pero, given yung X, or yung activity level, or yung number of customers served, at given din yung Y, which is the total overhead cost. Okay? So, yan yung formula niya. Y is equal to A plus B multiplied by X, or the activity level, is just the same with the equation of total cost is equal to the sum of the total fixed cost plus the variable cost per unit multiplied by the activity level. So, yan. So, ito yung gagawin natin. Scatter graph. Unahin na natin si January. 9,000. Hanapin mo si 9,000 sa x-axis, yung nakahiga. So, nasa pagitan siya syempre ng 8,000 at 10,000. So, from there, locate mo siya paakyat. Paano mo malulocate yung paakyat? Syempre, yung equivalent niya na total overhead cost na 15,000. Hanapin mo yung 15,000 sa y-axis. Ito yun, di ba? 15,000, hanapin mo sa y-axis. Andun siya sa pagitan ng 16,000 at 14,000. So, kunin mo yung guhit niyan para malocate mo to. Magsasalubong siya x 9,000 and yung y 15,000. Then, pag sunod-sunurin mo lang yan hanggang sa maubos mo yung June. So, ganyan lang maggawa ng scatter graph. Okay? Okay, so let's continue. Scatter graph using the Microsoft Excel. So, the step 4 is you have to fit a line through the data points that will provide an estimate. Again, this is just an estimate of the total fixed cost and the variable cost per unit. So, fit a line. So, how to fit a line? Magdodrawing tayo ng isang straight line kung saan dapat halos mapapaloob siya dito sa mga data points dun sa number of customers served from January to June na data natin. So, guhit tayo ng linya. Dapat straight line, ha? Dapat straight line. Ayan, nakikita nyo yung pula? Yan yung pula, dahan-dahan. Yan yung straight line na iguguhit natin. Yan yung step 4, fit a line. Yung red line na nakikita nyo dahan-dahan, yan yung fit a line. Okay? So, once ma-fit mo na, ano nang next? Scatter graph is sometimes called the visual fit method. So, ang ibang tawag pala class sa scatter graph ay visual fit method. So, bakit siya tinatawag na visual fit method? Kasi nga, representation lang naman to, yung mga points na to, di ba? After natin siyang mag-graph, lalagyan natin ng guhit para malaman natin yung closeness dun sa naiguhit natin na linya, kung masyado bang malayo or masyadong malapit. It shows na yung relationship niya is hindi siya masyadong malayo. Ibig sabihin, medyo proportionate yung relationship na ma-observe natin dito sa drawing natin na guhit na straight line. Next, note that the point where your line intercepts the y-axis is your estimate of the total fixed cost. So, yung nakikita nyo na broken line na kulay blue, color blue, yan daw yung line intercept sa y-axis. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng intercept? Bumangga. Bumangga sa y-axis. Doon sa ginuhit natin na linya, in between doon sa mga data points, yung straight line na yun na babangga sa y-axis, ang tawag doon ay estimate natin ng total fixed cost. Kung napapansin nyo yung nasa baba ng cost formula, nasan dyan yung total fixed cost? Yan yung letter A. So, ibig sabihin, doon sa cost formula, malalaman na natin yung total fixed cost base sa estimate gamit lamang yung linya na pinadaan natin doon sa scattered na data points. Kaya nga siya tinatawag na scatter graph kasi may na-scattered na data points na plinat tapos ginawa natin ng linya. Yung babangga sa linya dun sa y-axis, yun ang estimated, again, estimated only na total fixed cost. Ibig sabihin, nakakaroon tayo ng prediction gamit lang yung scatter graph. Meron ka nang nakocompute na estimated na total fixed cost. Ibig sabihin, kung given yung total cost, yung letter Y, at saka given din yung activity na X, tapos given na compute na rin natin, base dito sa scatter graph, yung total fixed cost, yung bumangga dito sa pagitan ng $10,000 at $12,000, ibig sabihin $11,000 yung total fixed cost na estimated only. Makukompute natin ngayon ang variable cost per unit. Madederive na natin gamit yung formula, gamit yung cost formula or yung cost function na y is equal to a plus b multiplied by x or the activity level. So let's now proceed with the third cost estimation technique. That is the high-low method. It calculates the line based on the two most extreme activity or X data points. Although it uses only 2 points, this approach may provide a reasonable estimate of the fixed and variable cost as long as the high and low data points fall within the relevant range. If you still recall, I already discussed the assumptions, and one of them is the relevant range assumption. So what are the procedures to follow in calculating the fixed and variable cost components of mixed cost using the high-low method? First step is to find the two most extreme activity or X observations. Step 2, calculate the slope of the line or the change in Y over the change in X to get the variable cost per unit. If you still remember, I told you earlier that the slope is the rise over run, or simply the change in cost over the change in the activity level. Step 3, solve for the total fixed cost or the intercept by plugging the variable cost information back into the linear cost equation. So, gagamitin natin ulit yung cost equation natin na y is equal to a plus b multiplied by the x or the activity level. So again, the step 1 in the high-low method, what is it? Find the two most extreme activity or X observations. So we need to get the table coming from the Starbucks hypothetical data. And here it is. The month, the number of customers served, is just represented by letter symbol X, and the total overhead costs represented by letter Y. Okay, so find the two most extreme, kaya nga siya high-low method. So hanapin mo yung highest na activity. Ano bang highest na activity? January ba o February? Siyempre yung February, mas mataas siya. Pinakamataas yung February, and that is 15,000 daw na number of customers served ni Starbucks ay naganap noong February or noong month ng February. Ayan, 15,000, bilugan mo. Ibig sabihin, yan yung highest. So, kung merong highest, di ba sabi nga, two most extreme. So, hanapin mo naman yung lowest. So, ang lowest ba 6,000? Hindi. May mas mababa pa sa 6,000, and that is 5,000. Anong month? Month of May. Ayun. So, hanapin mo yung month of May. Ayan. Tapos, yan yung lowest. Ayan, nakikita mo naman yung linya. Ayan. So, ang highest, 15,000, month of February. Ang lowest naman is 5,000, month of May. So, yan yung first step. Now, let's proceed to the second step. Okay, step 2 na tayo ng high-low method. What does step 2 says? Step 2, calculate the scope. No, that's not scope. That is slope. Kindly correct na lang, typo error. That is slope. Calculate the slope of the line or the change in y over the change in x. If you remember, pag sinabing slope, yan yung rise over run. Ano yung rise? Change in the total cost. Ano yung denominator niya? Change in the activity levels. So, using the table provided by Starbucks, ang highest is 15,000 noong month of February. Ang lowest naman is 5,000 noong month of May. Kunin mo yung cost niyan para makompute natin yung variable cost per unit. Ang cost ng highest is $15,750 noong month of February. Samantalang ang lowest naman is yung month of May amounting to 13,250. Malamang nagtataka na kayo. Sabi mo highest at saka lowest, may mas mababa pa na lowest na 12,500. According dun sa author ng book, kapag daw confusing siya pagdating sa overhead cost or sa total cost, ang gagamitin natin, ang magpe-prevail ay yung activity levels. So in that case, hindi natin kinuha yung 6,000, di ba, ng month of April kasi may mas mababa pa na month of May na 5,000. So ang kukunin mo syempre na cost is hindi yung 12,500 kundi yung 13,250. Again, kapag may mas mababa pa na total cost, ang masusunod dapat is yung lowest activity levels or highest activity levels. So kung anong equivalent cost na yon, yun ang kukunin mo. In this particular case, 13,250 ang kukunin mo na lowest, hindi yung 12,500. Bakit? Mas mababa kasi yung activity levels ng month of May, which is 5,000 compared naman sa 6,000 ng month of April. So, lagay mo siya dyan sa formula. Ang numerator natin is difference in total cost. So, ano yung total cost natin na difference? Siyempre, yung highest at saka lowest. So, 15,750 minus 13,250, yan yung difference in total cost. Ano naman yung difference in activity level? Siyempre, yung 15,000 na highest minus 5,000 na lowest. So, yung rise over run, o ito rin yung slope dun sa cost formula natin. Ito yung letter B. Dun sa y is equal to a plus b multiplied by x. Yung b na to, ito yung variable cost per unit. So, y1 minus y2, yan yung highest cost minus lowest cost divided by the highest activity minus the lowest activity level. So, lagyan mo lang ng amount. Siyempre, $15,750 minus $13,250 divided by the difference between $15,000 and $5,000. So, makukompute mo na. 2,500 divided by the 10,000 na activity level or number of customers served. Okay. So, yung iba dyan, sasabihin, bakit nakalagay per unit? Yan kasi yung generic term, no? Pero hindi naman kailangan laging per unit. In this case, dahil ito ay Starbucks, ang ginamit niya na cost driver is not per unit, kundi yung per customer or per the number of customers served or per customer served. Yun yung kanyang cost driver. But in any case, same lang din naman ang magiging sagot, which is $0.25 per customer served or per unit. So, na-compute na natin yung B dun sa cost formula na y is equal to a plus bx or b multiplied by x. Ito na actually yung b. Ito na yung constant. Ano yung constant? Yung variable cost per unit. In this case, na-compute natin as $0.25 per unit. Per unit. Okay? Okay, let's proceed with the third step using the high-low method. What is the third step? Step 3, solve for the total fixed cost or the intercept by plugging the variable cost information back into the linear cost equation. So, kaya nga kung napansin nyo, pinaulit-ulit ko kanina na dapat natatandaan nyo, huwag nyong kakalimutan yung cost formula. Ano nga ulit yung cost formula? Y is equal to A plus B multiplied by the X or the activity level. Yung Y, yun yung total cost. Yung A naman, yun yung total fixed cost. Yung B, yun yung variable cost per unit. Yung X, yun naman yung activity level. Ano yung mga example ng activity level? Pwedeng volume of production, pwedeng direct labor hours, pwede rin naman na machine hours. In this case, dahil ito ay Starbucks, hindi natin ginamit yung labor hours, hindi rin natin ginamit yung machine hours, hindi rin natin ginamit yung number of units produced. Ang ginamit natin is number of customers served. Ibig sabihin, yun yung kanyang activity level. Number of customers served. Dahil ito ay Starbucks. Okay? So, depende sa nature ng activity or ng business process ang pagpili ng cost driver. Okay, so cost formula, again, just to review, y is equal to a plus b multiplied by x. Again, yung y, yan yung total cost. Yung a, yan naman yung total fixed cost. Yung b, yan yung variable cost per unit na constant. And yung x, yan yung activity level or yan yung cost driver. So, gamit yung nakuha natin na highest and lowest points at saka yung highest and lowest cost na related dun sa nakuha natin na highest and lowest activity level, 15,750 minus 13,250, ilagay na lang natin dito sa ating cost formula. So, sa cost formula, makukompute natin yung total fixed cost. Anong sabi natin? Kapag tinatranspose, nag-change ng sign. So, in this case, ang variable cost per unit times activity, magiging negative siya. Bakit siya magiging negative? Kasi transfer mo. Bakit siya transfer? If you notice, nagbago yung formula. Naging total fixed cost na is equal to total cost minus variable cost per unit multiplied by the activity. Okay? So, transpose mo. Kaya yung positive sign na variable cost per unit multiplied by activity, nilipat mo sa kabilang side para makumpute mo yung total fixed cost. So, magni-negative na siya. Okay? So, baka nagtataka ka, bakit naging negative na to? Kasi nga, transpose natin para makumpute natin yung total fixed cost. Transpose natin ng side. Kung dati positive siya, the moment na ito ay transpose sa kabilang side, magiging negative na siya. So, ang formula is total fixed cost is equal to total cost minus the variable cost per unit multiplied by the activity or the cost driver. In this case, ang total cost is 15,750 nung month of February. Sir, bakit yun ang kinuha nyo na 15,750? Kasi nga, yun yung highest. Remember, ang method na ginagamit natin this time is the high-low method. So, dalawa, highest at saka lowest. In this particular slide, pinapakita lang yung highest. Pero pwede mo rin computing yan sa lowest para malaman mo kung makukompute mo yung tamang total fixed cost. In this case, 15,750 minus 0.25 Paano na-compute yung 0.25? Yan yung nakita natin sa step 2 na kinompute. So, dapat matandaan mo yung step 2. $25.25 multiply mo lang dun sa 15,000 na number of customers served ng Starbucks. So, in this case, makukompute natin yung magkano? Eto na. 3,750. Paano na-compute yung 3,750? Yung $0.25, minultiply siya sa 15,000 na number of customers served. So, ang total nun is 3,750. Ibig sabihin yan yung total na variable cost. Ibig sabihin, kung meron kang total variable cost, i-minus mo lang yun sa total cost para makompute natin yung total fixed cost na how much? Ang total fixed cost ay $12,000. So, yung audience natin ngayon, i-check nyo rin dun sa lowest. So, bali sa lowest, ang magiging formula nyo ay total cost. So, bagay mangyayari, total fixed cost is equal to total cost instead of 15,750. Kapag ang gagamitin mo na is yung lowest, palitan mo yung 15,750. Gawin mong 13,250. Tapos, yung variable cost per unit, same pa din, 0.25 pa din. Bakit 0.25 pa din? Remember, doon sa ating cost formula, ang variable cost per unit ay constant, hindi yan nagbabago. Ano yung nagbabaris or yung nagbabago? Yung total at saka yung activity level. In this case, ang gagamitin mo ng activity level kapag lowest na is hindi na yung 15,000. Ano na dapat? 5,000 na dapat kasi lowest na yung ginagamit mong reference. So, depende. Kapag highest, syempre doon ka sa highest. Pag lowest, doon ka naman sa pinakamababa. In that case, 5,000 na yung number of customers. So, yung 5,000, i-multiply mo sa 0.25, yung makukuha mo doon na number, i-minus mo sa 13,250 na total overhead cost ng month of May. Bakit nga month of May? Kasi nga, yun yung lowest. Remember, ang method na ginagamit natin is high-low method. So, isa sa highest, yung isa naman sa lowest. But in any case, dapat ang total fixed cost ay same na 12,000. Sir, bakit same na total fixed cost 12,000? Remember, ang concept ng fixed cost is pag sinabing fixed cost, di ba, ang total niya remains the same. Kaya dapat 12,000 pa din kapag ang ginamit mong reference yung lowest ng month of May na 5,000 number of customers served and yung total overhead cost ng May which is 13,250. Okay, so for better appreciation ng lesson, compare natin yung high-low method sa scatter graph. So yung kanina. If you recall, dun sa na-compute natin na scatter graph, nagguhit ka lang ng diagonal line na straight dun sa data points. Ang bumangga dun sa y-intercept, nasa pagitan siya ng 10 at saka 12. So, ma-estimate natin na ang total fixed cost na bumangga dun sa y-intercept is $11,000. Yun yung estimated natin na total fixed cost using the scatter graph method. Now, dun sa na-compute natin na high-low method, dun sa previous slide, is halos hindi rin nagkakalayo. Bakit ko nasabing hindi nagkakalayo? If you notice, ang na-compute natin na total fixed cost using the high-low method is $12,000. So, yung scatter graph, $11,000. Ang high-low method, $12,000. It only means na medyo malapit sa katotohanan. Kasi magtaka na tayo kapag ang na-compute mo sa scatter graph at high-low method is masyadong malayo, maybe there is something wrong with your calculation dun sa pagpili mo ng high-low method. Okay? So, isa rin yun sa checking natin, no? Sa compare natin yung na-compute natin na total fixed cost using the scatter graph and the high-low method. So, tingnan nga natin. Ayan, ito yung scatter graph. Kanina, nasa 11. Pero ngayon naman, gamit yung high-low method, ang hindi na siya 11, kundi sinakto na natin na 12,000. Pag galing sa 12,000, guhit ka ng straight line, ayan, Ganyan yung itsura niya, no? Halos hindi naman nagkakalayo ng sobra dun sa scatter graph na nagguhita natin ng straight diagonal line. So, yan yung lowest, 13,250. Ang X, yung activity level na lowest is 5,000. So, yung total overhead cost is $13,250. Ang lowest naman na activity level is 5,000. So, ito yon. Yan yung linya na yon. 13,250 at 5,000. So, kapag plinat mo siya, tutugma din siya, di ba? 5,000 sa pagitan ng 4,000 at 6,000 na number of customers served. So, tama naman. Tapos, yung total cost pero lowest is nasa pagitan ng $12,000 at $14,000. To be more accurate, ang total na lowest overhead cost base doon sa given sa date sa problem sa month of May is $13,250. So kung titingnan nyo, halos tugmang-tugma talaga siya dito. Actually, tugma talaga siya dapat. Okay? So, tingnan naman natin sa lowest. Ayan naman, sa lowest, 15,750 ang total overhead cost. Ang number of customers served naman ay 15,000. Number of customers served. So, ito yon, di ba? E, paano natin makukompute yung slope? Ano nga ulit yung slope? Rise over run. Ang other illustration ng slope is the change in total cost divided by the change in the activity level. So, tingnan natin. Yung slope of the line, guhitan natin, yan yung kanyang magiging slope. Yung perpendicular line na yan. Tapos, ang slope niya, which is the variable cost per unit, gamit ang high-low method, ayan na, na-compute na, 15,750 minus 13,250 divided by the 15,000 na highest activity minus the 5,000 na lowest activity kasi nga high-low method. So, na-compute natin ang slope or yung variable cost per unit is $0.25 per customer served. Yan yung slope niya or yung variable cost per unit. Okay? So, yung slope is just the same with the variable cost per unit sa total variable cost formula. So, yung intercept, pag sinabing intercept, yan yung babangga sa y-axis. So, nung ginamit natin yung high-low method, hindi siya 11,000 kundi 12,000 kasi yan yung babangga. So, dapat kung mag-drawing ka ng straight diagonal line, diyan ka mag-start sa 12,000 kasi yan yung na-compute natin using the high-low method. Unlike sa scatter graph na 11,000 lang ang na-compute natin sa scatter graph na total fixed cost. Okay? Yan. So, next topic is the least squares or the regression method. It is a statistical technique that uses all of the available data to find the best fitting line. So the best fitting line is the one that minimizes the sum of the squared errors. Where error is the difference between the regression line and the actual data values. So using the Microsoft Excel functions, the following procedures are recommended. Step 1, select data and data analysis from the main menu. Step 2, select regression from data analysis menu. And step 3, select the Y range. So yung Y range, yan yung total overhead cost. Yung X range naman, doon sa cost formula natin, pag sinabing X, ito yung activity level. And pag sinabi naman na output range, kung ano yung kung saang sheet mo siya ilalagay sa Microsoft Excel. So, madidiscuss natin yon later on. Okay? Okay, so let's deal with least squares or the regression method. So, if you notice, dun sa scatter graph, ang tawag niya ay visual fit. Visual fit method. Yun yung other term for scatter graph. Ito naman class na least squares regression method, ang tawag naman sa kanya is best fitting line. So kung i-compare natin kay scatter graph, si regression method or si least squares is the best fitting line. Ibig sabihin, mas reliable si least squares kumpara sa scatter graph. Okay? Kaya nga ang tawag sa least squares regression is the best fitting line. Bakit? Bakit siya tinatawag na best fitting line? Kasi mini-minimize niya or nami-minimize niya yung sum ng squared errors. When you say squared errors, yan yung variance. Okay? Yan yung variance. Kaya nga siya errors. Ibig sabihin, dapat pag least squares, hanapin natin yung pinakamaliit na variance. Kung napapansin nyo, kino-compare niya dun sa linya, yung drawing na linya, yung mga actual data points. So, meron diyang note, error is measured by the vertical distance between the regression line. Ano yung regression line dyan? Yung ginuhit na red line na diagonal paakyat. Yan, ito. So, yan yung regression line. Ano naman yung data point? Yan yung plinat mo doon sa binigay na table, hypothetical table coming from Starbucks na in-illustrate natin dun sa previous slides. Okay? So, yan yung difference niya. Kung ano yung gaano siya kalayo dito sa red line or dun sa regression line. Nakalagay na rin dito, class, MS Excel program automatically. Ayan, hindi na tayo mahihirapan kasi computer na ang gagawa para sa atin. MS Excel program automatically calculate the intercept. Diba nabanggit ko na to kanina pag sinabing intercept, yan yung babangga dun sa y-axis. Ibig sabihin, kung kanina nagdo-drawing pa tayo dun sa scatter graph nung makakalusot or pupunta sa gitna ng mga data points, doon naman sa high-low method, yung 12,000 na na-compute natin gamit yung cost formula, na 12,000 ang na-compute. Ito naman, gamit yung least squares or the regression method gamit ang MS Excel or Microsoft Excel, na-compute niya na fixed cost or yung bumangga sa y-axis is $11,181. Ibig sabihin, meron siyang butal. Ibig sabihin, kung meron tong butal, mas precise ito. Ibig sabihin din, between the three cost estimation techniques or methods, ang least squares regression method is the most reliable between the three. Okay? And isa pa, itong least squares kasi, kino-consider niya lahat ng data points. Whereas, dun sa high-low method, dalawang data points lang. Ano yung dalawang data points? Yung highest at saka yung lowest. Samantalang pag least squares, lahat ng data points ay kino-consider. Kaya mas reliable ang least squares regression method. Okay, so pasalamat tayo kay Microsoft kasi hindi na tayo mahihirapan kasi gamit lang ang Microsoft Excel. Kunin mo lang yung data or yung table, siya nang bahalang mag-compute ng iyong regression or yung iyong fixed cost or yung total fixed cost na mas accurate as compared sa high-low method na 2 points lang ang kinoconsider. Ang least squares ay lahat ng data points ay considered sa calculation ng computer or ng Microsoft Excel. Kaya mas reliable ang least squares or the regression method. So, alamin natin paano ba ito mako-compute or paano ba natin malalaman yung least squares regression gamit lamang ang Microsoft Excel. So, alamin natin, ano ba yung first step? Step 1, select data and data analysis from the main menu. So, yung data, ayan na, yung month, first column month, January to June. Second column, number of customers served or X or the activity level. And then third column is the total overhead cost or the Y. So, yan yung ating data. So, dapat daw, iselect mo yan. Pag nailagay mo na sa Microsoft Excel, na-encode mo na sa Microsoft Excel, kailangan mo siyang iselect. Once na ma-select mo na siya, piliin mo yung data analysis dun sa main menu. Anong itsura nun? Ayun. So, punta ka sa data, tapos hanapin mo yung data analysis. Pag nakita mo yung data analysis sa bandang right side, sa bandang kanan, hanapin mo yung word na regression. Kasi yan yung method na gagamitin natin. Regression, dun sa data analysis. Yan yung hanapin mo. Again, punta ka sa data analysis, hanapin mo yung regression sa drop-down list. Once na makita mo na yung regression sa drop-down list, click mo lang yung OK. Click mo lang yung OK. Okay, so diretso na tayo ngayon sa step 2. Anong step 2? Select regression from data analysis menu. Once mo ma-select, may lalabas na parang dialog box. Tapos meron ka dapat makikita na input Y range, input X range, labels, confidence level, constant is 0, 95%, output range, new worksheet, new workbook, residuals, and normal probability. So, ang ilalagay natin dyan is yung input Y range. Ayan, meron ka ng palatandaan, yung Y. So, ano ba yung Y dun sa data natin? Ang Y dun is yung total overhead cost. So, pag sinabing input Y range, dapat i-highlight mo yung column C or yung row C dyan sa iyong Microsoft Excel na table. I-highlight mo siya kasi yun yung range sa Y. Pagdating naman sa input X range, pag sinabing X, yan yung activity level. In that case, ang number of customers served, yan yung X or the activity level. I-highlight mo din yan. Okay? Tapos, i-click mo yung labels. Huwag na nating palitan yung confidence level na 95% kasi normally naman talaga, 'di ba, may margin for error na 5%. So in this case, naka-default siya na 5% ang margin of error. So ang confidence level natin ay 95%. Then yung output range na nakikita nyo sa bandang baba sa output options, ang ilalagay mo diyan, i-click mo 'yan kung saan mo ilalagay yung report na ma-generate gamit ang regression. So, pwede mo ilagay sa A12, so sa sheet A12 or pwede rin naman na sheet A20. As long as makikita mo siya at hindi ka maliligaw. Okay? Okay, step 3 na agad. Select the Y range, X range, and output range. So, nabanggit ko na rin to sa previous slide. Yung Y range, yan yung total overhead cost. In that case, dapat ang naka-highlight is yung C1 up to C7. So, dapat sa column C ka lang. Huwag mo idama yung column B. Kasi sa X na yon kailangan. Y lang ang hinihingi sa'yo. Now, pagdating naman sa X range, yan naman yung activity or yung volume. In that case, since Starbucks ang ginamit na illustration is number of customers served. So, dapat B1 hanggang B7 ang iyong range. So, yan ang i-highlight mo. Okay? Kita naman dyan sa illustration. So, lagay mo lang yan, tapos i-click mo yung labels. Yung labels para magkaroon ng labels kasi kung walang labels, mahirap intindihin. Tapos yung output range, nabanggit ko na rin to kanina, kung saan mo siya gustong ilabas yung report. Okay? Kung saan mo gustong ipakita yung report, kung pwedeng A12, A20, or even A60. Pero syempre, dapat yung medyo malapit lang dito para mas hindi ka na mahirapan maghanap. Okay? Okay, so Once na ma-click mo na yon, ma-generate mo na yung regression, ito yung lalabas na result niya or yung summary output. In that case, ang output range nilagay ko sa A12. Kaya kung nakikita nyo, ang regression statistics, nag-start siya sa 12. Ibig sabihin, ang nilagay ko doon is A12. Okay? So, huwag kayong mag-alala kasi hindi naman yan lahat is kailangan natin sa paggamit ng least squares. Ang kailangan lang natin dyan is yung R square at saka yung coefficient sa baba, yung intercept. Yung intercept, pag sinabing intercept, yan yung babangga sa y-axis. Kung natatandaan nyo, dun sa scatter graph, yung bumangga sa y-axis, yun yung fixed cost. Ang tawag doon intercept. In that case, ibig sabihin itong intercept, yan yung total fixed cost. So, ang nakikita nyo dyan, 11,180.90017. Ibig sabihin, yan yung total fixed cost in dollar. So, $11,180.90. Tapos, yung number of customers served X, yung 0.32 naman, yan naman yung variable cost per unit. Again, yung number of customers served X, yan naman yung variable cost per unit. So, yung iba, wag nyo nang pansinin kasi hindi naman tayo statistician. Okay? Ang importante lang dito is yung tatlo. Ano yung tatlo? One is the R square. Number two, the intercept or also called the constant. Pag sinabing constant, ibig sabihin hindi nagbabago. Kaya nga, pag hindi nagbabago, ang tawag doon ay fixed cost. So, yung intercept, constant, yan yung fixed cost, 11,180.90. And then yung number 3, x coefficient or the slope of the line. When you say slope of the line, yan din yung variable cost per unit. Slope of the line, yan din yung variable cost per unit dun sa ating cost formula. Cost formula. Okay, so ano ba yung R square? R square is the measure of the goodness of fit of the model. In a perfect world, an R square of 1 indicates a perfect fit between the data and the regression line. In reality, there is likely to be some variation around the regression line. So dito sa na-compute ng Microsoft Excel na R square, sumakto ba na siya na 1? Hindi. Ibig sabihin, hindi naman talaga tayo, wala talagang perfect world. Okay? Sabi nga dito, mahirap siyang magawa. Okay? Kasi nga, in reality, meron talagang variation. So in this case, lalabas, kung 0.64, lalabas parang 64% lang siya. Okay? So, ang tawag dun sa R square is the measure of the goodness of fit of the model. R square is the measure of the goodness of fit of the model. Okay, so pero alamin talaga natin ano ba talagang function or gamit ng R square. Sabi ng libro ni White Cotton na Managerial Accounting, ang R square daw, it tells us how much of the variability in Y or the total overhead cost is explained by X. Ano yung X? The customers served. So the R square of 0.64398 or 0.6440 tells managers that about 64% of the variability in overhead cost is explained by the number of customers served. Okay? So, anong ibig sabihin nun? Yung variation sa overhead cost can be attributed or explained by the number of customers served. So, anong mangyayari dun sa 36%, yung difference ng 100 at 64? So, yung natitira na 36%, it could be related to some other cost driver or could simply reflect random fluctuation in overhead cost. Kaya nga class, importante na may ganito tayo mga technique para mas precise, mas reliable, hindi tayo nanghuhula kung gusto nating i-analyze yung cost behavior, no? O yung behavior ng mga cost depende sa changes sa activity levels. Okay, so yung R square, hindi siya nagtatapos doon, no? The regression output also provides an estimate of the total fixed cost, the constant or the intercept, and the variable cost per unit or the X coefficient or the slope of the line. The estimate of the total fixed overhead cost is 11,181, already rounded off. And the estimate of the variable overhead cost is $0.32 per customer serve. Per customer serve. Okay, so napaka-useful class ng Microsoft Excel, no? Gamit yung regression or the least squares. So since given na-compute na ng Microsoft Excel yung total fixed cost at saka yung variable cost per unit or per customer served, pwede na nating makompute, pwede na tayong mag-predict or mag-estimate ng total overhead cost. So, balik ka lang doon sa formula natin. Cost formula. Ano nga ang cost formula? Y is equal to A plus B multiplied by X or BX. So, Y is equal to A plus BX. So, yun din yun. Total overhead cost is equal to total fixed cost plus total variable cost. Same lang. So magsa-substitute ka lang dyan ng iyong variable na number of customers served or yung activity level. Kung gusto mong mag-predict gamit yung cost formula, susuplayan mo lang yan ng number, yung number of customers served. Kasi na-compute mo na yung regression gamit ang Microsoft Excel. So the regression results can be used to predict or to estimate total overhead costs in the future, in the future, as long as we can estimate the number of customers to be served and this estimate falls within the relevant range. So, for example, if Starbucks expects to serve 8,000 customers in July, it would budget for 11,181 fixed overhead costs plus 2,560 na variable cost. Paano na-compute yung 2,560 na total variable cost? Yung na-compute ng Microsoft Excel na regression na variable cost per unit na $0.32, i-multiply mo lang yun sa finorcast na 8,000 customers para ma-compute mo yung variable overhead cost. So, very useful ito class, no? Napaka-useful. Ang importante lang, marunong tayo gumamit. Okay? Marunong tayo gumamit. Marunong tayo yung proper application. Proper application. Okay, for your appreciation, the comparatives of the three methods, of course, lumalabas dyan. Ang most reliable among the three is the least squares regression. Bakit? It uses all data points and it's easy to calculate using Microsoft Excel. Okay? Kasi yung high-low method, kaya hindi siya ganun ka-reliable kasi dalawang data points lang ang kinoconsider. Ano yung dalawang data points? Highest and the lowest. Samantalang itong least squares regression, kinoconsider niya sa calculation gamit ang Microsoft Excel lahat ng data points. Ang scatter graph naman, ang kagandahan naman sa kanya is simple lang. Mag-draw ka lang, ma-plot mo lang yung x and y, tapos mag-draw ka lang, ma-estimate mo na siya. Okay? Kumbaga, hindi siya masyadong komplikado. Kasi do-drawing mo lang. Make sure lang na tama yung pagpa-plot mo ng x and y, or make sure lang na tama yung pagpa-plot mo ng coordinates. Okay? Make sure na tama yung pag-plot mo ng coordinates para yung pagguhit mo ng vertical line is medyo malapit sa katotohanan. Otherwise, magkakamali ka, baka sobrang layo kapag ginawa mo na yung high-low method at saka yung least squares regression. Kasi doon kanina, kung napansin nyo, konti lang yung difference. Sa scatter graph, nasa 11,000. Sa high-low method, ang na-compute na fixed cost ay 12,000. Pero sa least squares, dahil ito yung most accurate, most reliable, nasa 11,181. Meron pang butal. Yes, meron pang butal. Kasi nga, ito ay computer-generated. Automatic na, no? Hindi na tayo mamumroblema. Okay? Okay, wait. Hold on. If you find the previous formula to be complicated, okay, don't worry. Because we have a online calculator yung ginamit natin last semester with Professor Engineer Mao. So magagamit din natin this time, this second semester. Okay? So ano ba yon? Yung online calculator natin. Maglalagay ka lang ng values ng x. Ano yung x? Values ng x. Yung values ng x, ito yung activity levels or yung number of customers served. Tapos sa Y naman, ito naman yung total overhead cost. So, supplyan mo lang yon. So, dapat tama lang yung paglagay mo ng X at saka Y para same pa din yung result. Okay? Okay. So, classmates, familiar ba? https://www.socsci.statistics.com. So, yan lang. Lagay mo lang yung X values. Yan yung number of customers served. Tapos yung Y values naman, yan yung total overhead cost. Lagay mo lang siya dyan. Tapos, dapat lang na-click mo yung linear regression. Tapos siya nang bahalang mag-compute para sa'yo. And if you notice sa calculation summary, same lang yung lalabas. Yung 0.32, yan din yung na-compute ng Microsoft Excel. Yung 11,180.90017, yan din yung na-compute na coefficient gamit ang Microsoft Excel. Ibig sabihin, pareho lang. Same result. So, depende na lang kay Dean Mariano, Dean Ching, kung anong gusto mong ipagamit po sa amin. Kung ito po bang online calculator o yung Microsoft Excel. So, kayo na pong, susunod na lang po kami kung ano pong gusto nyong gawin namin. Okay? So, yun lang classmates, no? At kailangan ko na matulog at ako'y babalik pa sa seminar sa San Pablo, Laguna. Okay? It's already 3:07 in the morning. Kailangan ko pang bumalik ng San Pablo ng 6 a.m. So, di ko alam kung makakatulog pa ako. And hopefully, nagets nyo naman yung report ko. And yung susunod na reporter, si Ma'am Ludi Briñas. Ma'am Ludi, the floor is yours na. And see you soon. See you very soon. Okay? Bye, classmates. Bye-bye.